aka FF Freak 1771. We just went to a little private lobby here, turned the ball into a cube. Just having some fun. Today we're going to be discussing remakes and remasters, the current, in my opinion, sin of 2016 and especially 2017. We're going to kind of go there with that subject today. It's kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people. Some people love it. Some people are real nostalgia hogs, and they'll take every second of all the remasters and remakes they can get. Other people, maybe they don't like it so much. So we're going to kind of discuss both sides of that here today. We're going to go over a couple different games that are doing that right now as well, and kind of see what the difference in opinion here is between Brad and myself on those things. So at this point,
I just
as
scored
always,
for you, by the way. You're welcome.
You did score for me. Thank you, sir. Anyway, everybody, as always, I'm going to hand it over to Brad here. He's going to kind of start off this discussion. I would say the first step we're going to take here is just throw out an example of a game that's currently doing that and give the immediate opinion on that, and we're just going to spiral into it from there. Over to you, Brad.
All right, man. Thanks. As you guys know from our previous video, I'm an RPG guy, and you know that is a really big sin when it comes to RPGs, remakes and remasters, especially remastering. I know a lot of people, including myself, love this series I'm getting ready to talk about, Kingdom Hearts. It's a strange mix between Square Enix and Disney, and it really works for a lot of people, but a big problem they have is always putting out what they call remixes. You know, you've got Kingdom Hearts 1.5 or 2.8 or 2.5 or whatever.
2.8, yeah.
I mean, and they add some new stuff. Don't get me wrong, and they put, you know, you've got all the handhelds up to that point and all the console games in one collection usually. And that's fun too, but if you already bought all those separate games and you already have them all, what's the point in paying, you know, that kind of money for just a little bit of add-on content, basically? I mean,
is that all that's going
ridiculous.
into them is just some updated graphics and a little bit of new content? Are they not entirely full new games?
No, they're not full new games. A little bit of content, graphics update, and you're getting all the games that were released to that point on one disc, as far as I know.
I see.
And I think they do it because we've been wanting Kingdom Hearts 3 for like 10 years now, okay? And, well, they're perfectionists. They're doing it, they're working on it, but they are perfectionists. And I think it's hurting them in a way because now nobody expects it to be done. And I think with Square Enix especially, they have so many other projects going on when they really just need to focus on Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 7 remake, in my opinion. They just need to focus
you do
on the
think
two
that to an extent the remakes are okay, like they just need to focus on smaller batches of them maybe, or?
Yeah, definitely. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing, you know?
Fair enough.
And it also kind of affects not only scheduling and release dates, but quality as well. And since they're such quality control freaks anyway, which is a good thing, they, you know, look at every meticulous detail. I mean, you got to think Square's got the Final Fantasy 15 just come out. They got the Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac. They've got the Final Fantasy 7 remake they're doing, and then they got all the Kingdom Hearts 3, and then they're releasing Kingdom Hearts Remix 2.8 for PS4 or something like that.
Final chapter prologue or something.
Yeah, and they've just got so many, and it's just like pick one and stick with it, and keep your team on that one or two, you know, and work on that because fans, including myself, we're getting impatient. I mean, I've been waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 for like 10 years now because Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in 2006, and since then, they focused on handheld Kingdom Hearts games, which, don't get me wrong, the handheld ones are awesome games, but we all just want a true Kingdom Hearts 3 sequel. That's what we want, and Square should know that by now because we've complained enough about it.
Yeah, the internet has definitely raved enough about how it hasn't happened.
I mean, you got to think they teased the graphics demo for the PlayStation 3 Final Fantasy 7 remake 10 years ago when the PS3 first came out. You know, so and we've been waiting for it ever since then, and it never came out on PlayStation 3. And then they wanted to do Final Fantasy 13 and 13 Versus, and
So you think
13
maybe
Versus.
that they just need to kind of calm down with it a little bit?
Yeah, they definitely need to calm down because they released two sequels to Final Fantasy 13 that nobody asked for. They both sucked.
That
Okay,
nobody
13-2
wanted.
and then 13-2 and then Lightning Returns. I never played any of them. I only played the original 13. And I have no desire to because the quality and the lack of concern for those titles comes through in the gameplay. I mean, they can look as beautiful as they want, but I'm here to tell you it doesn't matter. It can look as beautiful as anything else out there, but the quality of everything else just tanked. I mean, all I had to do was play the demo for Final Fantasy 13-2, and I was like, nope, it's not going to happen. The gameplay was terrible, the battle system was terrible, the characters were annoying, and I didn't care if they ever died. In fact, I hoped that they died.
Well, all right, let's go into another developer here. On that note, that I feel like right now, especially, and over the past 3 to 4 years, especially, in my opinion, have been kind of guilty of that same like rehash, retag, everything. Just put out what they can, and it's with Bethesda and Skyrim. Understandably, it's an amazing game. Do we need it ported to every possible thing, even some things we didn't even know that it was ported to? But not really. No. We're ready for some news about your next game at this point, Bethesda. Like that's where I'm set at with, as my first off example of offenders on this list. Now, what I will say on the defensive end for their side on that is that they have added or will be, I'm not sure if it's in effect yet because I haven't really kept up with the game myself, but there either will be or already is mod support on consoles for Skyrim at this point, which I think is a really, really cool thing that they've done, that they've added. But other than that, everything else that it's been ported to since is just a rehash, and it's not even really a good texture pack lighting change rehash. It's just the same thing. Bethesda
definitely. And
is
they're
a
also
huge offender on that front.
and they're also and nobody asked
I've
for
heard
that
that,
on the
yes.
Switch. Everybody's already played it. You know, everybody's already played it on their PlayStations and their Xboxes. Nobody wants it on the Switch. Everybody's played it, so why even bother?
Yeah, and I feel that way very much with the Switch, because even though it is Nintendo's newest thing, I mean, nobody's trying to make the argument that it competes graphically or anything like that with the Xbox or the PlayStation. So it's not like, again, it's not like we're getting a detailed, redefined game. It's coming out on the Switch. It might potentially look a little bit more clunky than it did on PS3.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there were also some game-breaking glitches on. My brother has it for PS4, I think, maybe PS3. I can't remember, but there was a game-breaking glitch where he could not get past a certain point because a certain item he needed or a door wouldn't open or something, and he restarted, did hours and hours and hours of playing, and then the same glitch happened twice. So he loves it, but he hates it because he spent like hundreds on this and got to a point where that glitch keeps hindering his progress, and that's the thing. The game is known for not too many game-breaking glitches, but they're still there, and unless they've got them ironed out, why bother with the Switch anyway?
And that's a fair point. I feel like at this point in time they've done enough ports of it that they probably have worked those things out. But again, it just goes back to, I don't really know if there's a need for it.
Well, also, you got to think if they're just porting it and not remastering it or touching up anything, those glitches could still be there if it's just a simple port.
And that could be the case as well. It's hard to say. But on that note, I do kind of want to go into the other end of maybe not just the remaster, but the full on remake, building a game from the ground up as a reboot. And there are a lot of games now that are doing that. I believe, now again, I don't know this for a fact, nobody try to quote me on this, but I believe that that's what they have just recently done with the Crash series. I don't think it's just a retextured version. I'm pretty sure that they built
Oh
everything
yeah,
in a
it's
new
completely
engine
ground up. Yeah.
from square one. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, like that's cool, but they just kind of made the same game. But for me, when you start on a new engine and you start from the ground up, it doesn't matter if you're rewriting the same script. You're creating a new game, and I think that that's really cool. I think that that's a really unique thing that developers have started to do lately is kind of rebuild it for the modern age rather than just reskin it for the modern age.
Right. Um, and one comment I want to make too, it also depends on the console generation gap between the original and the remake. Okay, we're talking. Now, I'm not going to include the PS2 crashes because they weren't made by Naughty Dog. A different company had that property, and that's why they weren't as good. Um, Now, I think that because it's such a big jump, Crash came out in what, 96 on PS1, and now it's 27 plus 4, and it is completely different. Whereas, like, if they redid it on PS2, it would look a little different, but deal. Um, and I think that's where a lot of games remastering, especially not remakes, but remastering, like the Assassin's Creed Ezio collection. There's not that there's not that big a difference between the PS3 version and the PS4 version because they're only one generation difference. You know, so you can improve lighting and textures to a certain point, but it's different if you're trying to completely remake a game from like 3 or 4 console generations in the past. You know.
That's very true. It's a different situation when you're trying to bring it back entirely.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I believe you said that Square Enix was kind of doing that with one of theirs. That it did kind of seem like their love child at the moment that they wanted to bring back from Square One.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII, um, which this is okay. This is a touchy subject for a lot of people, and for me, it's a little difficult to um, touch on this subject because there are many points that I want to bring up about this remake. It's not a reboot. It's completely from the ground up. It's completely different. It's not a turn-based battle system anymore, which is what I like. Uh, it's definitely an action-based RPG, not a turn-based RPG. It's an action RPG, which is fine. But they teased it for PS3, okay, about 10 years ago. It didn't happen. Keep in mind, this is a 20-year-old game. Then they kept, teasing it and waiting and waiting and waiting. And now they finally said, it's going to be episodic, which the original game was 3 discs long. But we don't know how many episodes it's going to be, how much each episode is going to cost, and how long it's going to be in between episodes where we have to wait.
Yeah,
And also,
that's kind of
they're saying,
that is kind of touchy. Like, are we going to be like waiting over the course of like 5 games for this shit?
right, exactly. And not only that, it's going to be, from what I hear, don't quote me on this, but it's supposed to be download only. And if that's the case, that ticks me off, and it turns me off of it almost completely because I like to have my physical copy, especially for a game I've been waiting for over 10 years. I mean, come on.
Understandable.
And with the Blu-rays now, having a multiple Blu-ray game sounds crazy, but it's something I would be willing to put up with if they would just give me a physical copy.
Yeah, I don't feel like a lot of developers are going to look at that and be like, "Hey, it's a smart idea to put out three discs, in one game like we did back in 2000 what again."
1997.
This is kind of what you get with a live feed channel, everybody. We don't exactly always have our facts straight. We are not a fact channel or a news channel. We are most certainly an opinion channel. So, yeah. I mean, I know you got me on that. I'm just saying I don't fucking know.
Right.
But at any rate, to kind of get back on track of the specific subject here with everything. Now, do you see it as a mostly pure cash grab here, Brad, or do you see it as they are trying to bring back the nostalgia and let everybody re-experience those games, because I think that's very arguable both ways right now. A lot of people see it as a monetary thing specifically. A lot of people think that it's great because they get to like sort of relive their childhood in some small way.
Well, here's the thing. Again, I talked about this a little bit, I think, on our last video about a double-edged sword, and that's what this is. There's the good with the bad, and you got to take what you get. Now, I don't believe in Final Fantasy VII's case that it is a cash grab. It's been so long because they want to do it right. They want to do it perfect because they know the original game had such a reputation, and they don't want to ruin that reputation. You're smoking me, by the way, on this game here.
Well, you downloaded it 2 days ago, so I don't blame you, man. I'm not a good friend, everybody.
Really...
I don't let my rookie friend win. No, I don't. I'm sorry. It's just the way it goes.
Nah, that's cool. I respect it.
Anyway, go ahead, Brett.
But I definitely think it's not a cash grab in this case. What I think they need to do is they need to stop giving us the Kingdom Hearts .50,000, whatever the heck they're on, and focus on the two games we want, which is Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 7, the remake. Because they have so many remastery games in the works. They got Final Fantasy 12 remastered. They put out 10 and 10.2 remastered on both PS3 and PS4. Which, if you look at PS4, there's really no difference between Final Fantasy 10.2 remakes.
Well, that's like the Arkham games that they're redoing the first two, and it's like, oh, cool, graphic and textural updates with all the DLC included. I mean, yeah, yay. I think I didn't play those that long ago that they're not still fresh in my mind. That I don't, I mean. Those are the ones that get me, Those are the ones that really, like, do you guys really think that this is worth my money? Like, why is this being put out? And I kind of put some blame on the player community for feeding so much into that, because if it didn't make money, they wouldn't do it.
Right, and I think the community has a lot to do with it. Like you said, they if they keep complaining about them but still buying them, then they're just part of the problem. If you're going to complain about it, don't buy it. But if you're going to buy it, don't complain about it.
And I try to look at both sides of the fence in all situations. Are there some people that are maybe against what I'm saying here, and maybe you would argue with me and say, well, I didn't play that shit back on PS3, and I don't have a PS3, and think it'd be super fucking cool to play it on PS4, updated and remastered. Because there is the opposite side of the spectrum on every case.
But how small is that margin of people who didn't have a PS3 but have a PS4
that want to play it now? I don't know. I don't know if that's a few thousand or if that's in the 100,000s or more. I really have no idea on that one. It's hard to say.
Because I've been one of those people that look down on remakes and remasters and then buy it anyway just because I want it, just because I'm a fan of the franchise or whatever. And it's like with the Assassin's Creed Ezio collection. It's not a reboot or a remake. It's a remaster. They're slightly better textures and lighting. But the problem, the reason I bought it was because the only one I ever owned in the trilogy was Revelation. I didn't own Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood, and I wanted to own all three of them. So that's why I got it. I played them all, but I wanted to own them. Yeah, I guess there are people like that who played the games but never owned them, and now they want them. But how small are those margins?
Yeah, right. Are those margins enough to put aside bigger, more potentially money-making production?
Right.
Or maybe not even put aside, but just maybe have less manpower on in general.
Yeah, man, I don't know. It's a really crazy time to be a gamer because it feels like people are running out of ideas and they're just spending their time on remakes and remasters because they have no more original ideas left. So
and there is a lot of that going on. There is. You're right. But again, the opposite end of the spectrum. It could be argued that 2017, thus far, just from what we've seen, has already given us some very unique games, and especially with games that are coming out. It's going to give us some very creative and cool stuff. But then again, you still always have your annual releases, and to me, those aren't remakes or reboots, like that's what I like to call reskin.
Yeah.
They put out the Call of Duty every year, the Battlefield every year, and you could argue that it's built on a different engine from the ground. Like I get that. I don't know how much of the exact same coding is used or what goes into it. I'm not 100% on any of that. But at the end of the day, it is really easy to just call it all reskinned. It's
Oh
it's the
yeah,
same
definitely.
formula. It doesn't change anything. And a lot of people, my example for that right now is that people are so hyped up about Far Cry 5. I I feel like Far Cry Primal was such a flop for a lot of people that when they make Far Cry 5 halfway as good as Far Cry 3, people are just going to go ape shit and say it's the best game ever because look, just like with we talked about yesterday. Unity was such a flop in Assassin's Creed that Syndicate was seen as probably a better game than it may have actually been.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Um, and I think to a certain extent, Ubisoft kind of recovered their reputation, maybe a little, but at the same time, they severely hurt themselves. Um,
I know many
because
people
let's
that
be
don't play it
honest,
at all after, like they refuse to buy one period after Unity. It doesn't matter what Origins looks like; they're not buying it.
and I don't blame those people. And that's what companies got to be really observant about with their customer base because it could ruin them. Like No Man's Sky, they've made Hello Game. Uh, it was a huge hit on release, didn't deliver. They lost their fan base, ruined their reputation, and there hasn't been an update since the Pathfinder update. And even if there is, I don't care.
Very true.
I just don't care, and that's where people go with this creed. A lot of people just don't care. They want to care. They wish it would have succeeded, but they're gone. They don't want to waste money on it, and I don't
It
blame
will
them.
become very apparent very quickly here that Brad and I have a deep seated hatred, or at least if not hatred, despise for No Man's Sky, and a slight little twinge towards Hello Games. But that's a whole different video that I could probably spend a couple hours doing. But I feel like enough people have covered the debauchery that we don't need to. So we'll switch up the subject here from Sean Murray and
Before we do, your avatar is still No Man's Sky. You got to change
it
that
is
unless you
indeed
want.
not switched it. I am committing cardinal sin, and I apologize to the gaming world that it still remains what it is. I will get on that right away.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As your
Because
friend,
it's
I will
it's been that
respect
way
you.
for well over a year now, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it
Actually,
has.
no, not I don't think it's been over a year. Actually,
It will be in August, so
yeah,
change that crap in the next couple months.
yeah, exactly. Just make sure that hold on, Billy, we're streaming. But this is how it goes, guys. People jump in midstream. We're doing it live.
Woo, get crazy.
Anyway,
Yeah,
we're coming up
definitely.
like 4 minutes off the 20-minute mark here, so I think that we should get around to like final notes and stuff. We did kind of a longer video yesterday. Keep it a
Much
little bit
longer.
shorter today. So I think we're gonna like wrap up on some final notes and whatnot about our opinions on things. And as always, this channel is really big on if you guys watch this video, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. It's definitely about your guys' opinion, and we would like to touch on those in future videos if we start getting comments and discuss, specific users' opinions on things. So, Brad, if there's anything you'd like to say final remark-wise while I sit here and come up with some things, go for it, man.
There's just one thing. Developers, be careful. Do not overuse the remaster thing and get yourselves into a hole where your reputation is ruined. Focus on one or two projects that you put your heart into. But I understand there's a lot of investors you have to answer to and things like that. But in the end, it's gonna hurt you. So just be careful. If you like remakes, remasters, we're not judging here. That's cool, but it's kind of oversaturating the market, in my opinion. So there you go.
Fair enough. I guess the only thing that I could say about it really is that if the developers want to go out of their way to make everybody feel like it's worth the money, that's great. For me personally, just a texture update with better sound and this, that, and the other, that doesn't really sell me on it, especially if I've already played it before. If you guys tell me that you've added in practically a whole new game to the already original story or something, put it on one disc, great. Other than that, I don't really go out of my way to rebuy things that I've already played, no matter what they do to them. So I myself can say I'm personally not the biggest fan of it. Like Brad said, we're not judging anybody if you are. It's your personal opinion, just like this entire channel. So if you guys like it, or if you love it even, let us know in the comments. Tell us what you think. Because if you can, find a valid reason, or to yourself valid, that you believe that remakes are cool or a great idea, let us hear those, because maybe there's a side that we're not seeing to it, that maybe you can kind of shed a new light on for us. So I think with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, everybody, leave us a like, subscribe, comment, etc., all that good shit. I'm not too good at that final spiel there. If you guys want to leave us a like, do it. If not, it's all right too. We still love you. Brad, anything you want to say before we go here, man?
Peace out.
All right, everybody, have a good day.